It's no spiral right there. Ready?
Oh!
Hey!
Hello. Is Allison going to keep this?
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Beyond Sunday, Joel and Rob's podcast, where we are at the end of our series. We're not going to advertise.
Don't
this,
advertise
all right? We're not
that.
giving them free advertising.
No. It doesn't need to be up.
Top 5 regrets of the dying, and that kind of that was a little teaser to our theme song today.
Except I don't know what our theme song is.
I know, that's how we do it.
Okay, so I'm thinking football.
No.
Oh, don't know. Water?
I'm breaking out of the sitcom genre. You'll know it by the first second, and I think
Give me a hint. Let me get it beforehand.
you kind of already got it.
Oh, it's football. Here it comes.
Here it comes. It goes on
This
and
is
on.
the full version. Because on...
And it builds. It slowly builds
Yeah.
up.
Wow, I don't know that I've heard the full version. Iconic. Allison, you know what this is? Allison doesn't know what this is.
Yeah, we played too much.
Monday Night Football.
That was my guess, but
Well, you would have been
Wrong.
right. It's such a good song.
Back when Monday Night Football 2 was it.
Oh, yeah.
Was it. Like, it was, this is probably at least 2 decades ago, but where everything stopped on Monday night. If you got on Monday night,
It was a huge
It was a huge deal. It
Yeah,
was a
your team on
huge
Monday
deal.
Night Football. I remember it's that music for me is the same as is it John Lucas with Star Wars?
George Lucas?
No.
John Williams?
John Williams. I had to combine their names. John Lucas. Ah, that's great. But, you know, that kind of like you hear that and you're like, bum, bum, bum. Like just, it gets you going.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
Well,
that Monday Night Football, it's like, yeah, it's here.
You know, and then I eventually hit a point in my life where I was like, wow, my team's on Monday Night Football and the game's starting at 9.
Exactly.
And by halftime, there goes Bobby. And
Oh,
by
Bobby.
halftime, I'm exhausted and I just want to go to bed. Sign of my age right there, I guess. But there was a day where I would be up. And I know a lot of people in our church, when the Ravens are on, they tell me they are up to 12:30 watching it. I was like, man, that's impressive.
Well, Towson Presbyterian Church has a hip hop happening Monday Night Football
That we
small
do.
group.
That we do.
It's it is an impressive
Yeah.
group.
Yep.
That they don't meet every single Monday night, but they meet at least for a quarter
They
or
meet twice
maybe
a month.
half of them.
Twice
half
a
of them.
month, yep.
And it's impressive.
And they've a couple of times been Raven games because the Ravens are good and they're on.
This church takes
A
its
lot.
football very seriously. I admire that.
That they do. That they do. Yeah. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well too.
I think this is the first time in about 6 months you haven't opened with Robert.
I haven't. Dang it! I totally forgot.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of my thing for this podcast.
it is.
You know, it's just kind of my opening line. Robert, how are you?
But not today.
So we're at the last one.
The last regret
The
in
fifth
Bonnie
regret.
Bronnie
Ware's book.
Mm-hmm.
And the last regret is, I want to get the actual title down. Yeah, I wish I had let myself be happier.
Let being the key word there.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make that clear. And we were talking a lot about this before we rolled tape here. So we've had some good discussion already. So let's keep going with this. So she tells the story of Rosemary,
Mm-hmm.
who was married, had it was an abusive, physically and emotionally, relationship with her husband. And also, her husband dies, and she gives herself completely to her career, and has a very successful career. But
I think she got divorced.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
And then, I think you're right. And then kind of works her way up the ladder, where she's one of the first women in her field to be at certain management positions. And so she's
first in the state to reach something.
Very successful career.
Strong, independent, resilient.
Yeah. And then Bronnie is her care provider at the very end, as she is nearing her end and her death. And the chapter is about a lot about Rosemary is not pleasant to be around as she gets.
That's a very
end of
nice way of putting it. Yeah.
She's not pleasant, to the point where Bronnie is ready to walk out and leave, and not come back, and does. She sets a boundary that this is going to continue. I'm not going to be here, and then comes back and offers her some compassion, which seems to break down a wall that was there. And then their relationship is formed, and they start. Rosemary starts opening up more, and she gets to a place where she sees in Bronnie some happiness, and does not see much happiness in herself, and expresses that.
To ask Bronnie, tells Bronnie, I hate that you're always so happy.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yep. And there's some sadness for Rosemary that she, for a lot of her life, was not happy, and also was given some pretty tough life circumstances to be in too. We also need to kind of note that.
Yep, without a doubt.
But one of the questions that comes up that I think is a healthy question in this chapter is, do I deserve to be happy? And that's a good one. That is a good one. And that's one that we often don't ask ourselves. Am I allowed to be happy? I think I've often struggled with that one too. Do I deserve to experience happiness and joy? And the answer is, I would say, absolutely yes. But it's good to ask yourself that question.
It's good to ask it, I think, very intentionally and consciously, because whether or not we're asking it intentionally and consciously, we're asking it unconsciously.
Well said.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The question I think that Bronnie's getting at here with, do I let myself? It's not really, do I let myself? There's so much that's going on under that kind of superficial level of, am I going to allow myself to be happy? And I think that question of worth really sits right there. Do I deserve to be happy? Am I worthy of feeling joy?
Yes. Great way to say it. You said it in a really good way. Yeah. And as I've thought about this one, I've struggled with this a little bit. Do I deserve to be happy? In the maybe cultural definition of happiness that we have, which is, I just want everything for myself then. There can be also this kind of a very unhealthy side of this, of then I want to drink whatever I want to drink, and I want to treat people however I want to treat
Yeah.
people, you know?
Like the Freudian id,
Yes.
right? Like immediate gratification for me, always.
Me always, yes. And she's not getting at that, but
Mm-mm.
but when I hear that one, that's where I kind of go to and get a little uncomfortable. And so I think what this one does, or at least for me, what this one absolutely builds on the previous four.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is how happiness is wrapped up in had the courage to be true to myself.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah, well said.
Have I been able to express my feelings in a healthy way? That, on the other side of that, is a form of happiness.
That is such a great point.
Right?
And have I kept in contact with my friends and my loved ones? You do the previous three, and all of a sudden, happiness is not some kind of struggle to obtain. It's a reality that's right there waiting to be experienced.
Yes, because that's the part of happiness that I struggle with. You can't really, if that's your goal, you're constantly just chasing that carrot, right? You never, like, you get there and you go, oh, okay, I got there. I just need more of whatever I did to get to this point.
Yep.
So what I hear too, instead of happiness, there's also instead this like deeper desire in us for meaning, right? For purpose, for
your purpose, being true to your identity.
Yep. Yeah.
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 Amen. That's such a great point, that it's built on both worth, our sense of self-worth, and our ability to, in many ways, to navigate the previous three.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them regrets. They're really, I think, goals. They're ideals to strive for. I think that's a fantastic point you make. Because let's be clear, we're not here talking about mental illness or clinical depression or even generalized depression or anxiety or mental illness that really there's no let about it. There's no letting yourself be happy amid clinical depression. But what we are talking about is a perspective, a way of life. This is where we find the gospel, right? Being true to yourself, living in authentic relationships with others, while also expressing who you are and how you feel. These are genuine pursuits of what we would call salvation, life in all of its fullness. And when we do that, what the gospel teaches is that we, fullness of life is filled with joy. And we're not talking just about salvation on where we go when we die. We're talking about salvation in the here and now, life in all its fullness when we live along these pathways.
Yep. I have come, what does Jesus say? I've come to bring you abundant life. And when he talks about that, it's not sometime in the future. It's right now. It's the present tense.
Yeah. So I think it's when I love that you fashioned it that way, because I think it's a great kind of culmination of the points and the pursuits that she's lifting up here. And it's not just, by the way, the book is not just these 4 regrets. It's filled with beautiful stories and
build on these. Other examples.
Great illustrations. And Bonnie puts herself in there in this chapter about her own journey amid this, with her own health issues and family history issues. And that happiness in many ways comes when we do the hard work of the other stuff. When we really do come to our authentic feelings, when we really do live in authentic relationships with others.
Yep. So as we finish up this series, it's helpful, I think, and you just said it, Rob, these are all extremely challenging to work on. And so I think just keeping them in the periphery is a good step to take. To keep looking at them, to keep kind of just noticing them and letting. They're the kind of things that you got to let them work on you, right? In some ways, you got to kind of just keep them in your eyesight and let them kind of dig into you a little bit, you know?
You're never going to snap your finger and be like,
oh my God,
dag, I've nailed it. I've got it now.
Yeah.
You know, it's a perpetual kind of
Absolutely.
ideal.
We don't ever fully arrive at these, probably. We keep on moving towards them. And to fully arrive at these would be pretty tough. But you can keep working on them.
You can pursue them.
Absolutely.
And the more we pursue them, the easier the pursuit gets.
Yep.
And
Yes.
I think the more apparent and the more available joy and fullness of life really become.
Yep. Yeah.
And the other thing that Bronnie brings up in every chapter is that it's never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late to start pursuing any of these paths.
Yeah. And the people that she builds the chapter around in a very kind of healthy way, they start out with that regret, and at the very end, they have been able to live into that regret in some way. And so at the very end, Rosemary is able to experience happiness, and she dies with a sense of peace. And so I think that's really helpful.
Amen.
When you bring it up. There's no, it's never too late to start working on these.
Mm-hmm. It's not particularly a religious book at all,
Yeah.
but make no mistake, there's a heck of a lot of gospel in there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what do we have coming up, Joel?
So we got something that we're excited about. We've been talking about this for a little bit. We want to hear some questions that you have, and we're going to kind of leave it open-ended. There's not any particular kind of question we're looking for. We'll see what comes up. But we want to hear what questions you have that we might try and explore on this podcast.
I mean, we might. You mean we'll tackle them here?
We're going to tackle them right here. In this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the camera on?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We're excited about this. We think this could be a lot of fun. So we invite you to start thinking about what question about the mystery of faith, the mystery of life, God, religion. What question is bubbling up? We just spent a couple weeks on Curious. Why are you smiling?
I think there might just be a question you've always wondered about Joel. This is the time to ask that.
This actually is a time to ask it, if that's the case. Yes. Yeah.
We're going to put Joel on the hot seat a little bit.
and you can also ask these same questions of Rob.
Or
I'm Allison, too.
I'm an open book.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You're the mystery.
Really? You think so?
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. But we appreciate all of your comments. You who have been responding and noting different responses that you've had to the podcast. We read them all. We appreciate them all. We encourage you to keep doing it, friends. Keep the dialogue going, because there can be a lot of meaningful dialogue had right there in the comments on Facebook, if you're not listening just to the live stream but watching it. So yeah, ask us your questions, and we'll see what Joel has to say.
We'll see what I have to say. Until then, have a good rest of the day.